On the dark night of August 8, 1963, a Royal Mail train was traveling from Glasgow to London. In one compartment of this train, there were bags full of notes which are worth approximately £67 million today. Millions of pounds, or $8 billion are made. Train driver Jack Mills speeds the engine through the darkness of the night. They were driving. Suddenly, a red signal at a crossing flashed. This was unusual for the driver, as it was difficult to spot the traffic at that time. The signal turned red, making no difference. Driver Jack Mills immediately applied the brakes and brought the train to a halt on the deserted road. He stopped it. For a moment, silence fell everywhere. But behind this silence lay a master plan that would be the greatest of the century. He was about to carry out the largest robbery of all time, the Great Train Robbery, in which the train itself was stolen. This sounds like a movie plot, but even in real life, bandits have committed acts of suspense. They planned and robbed millions of pounds from a British government train without firing a single shot. It all started months ago. It happened when some of London's most notorious criminals joined forces to carry out a new crime. Bruce Reynolds, the mastermind behind this plan, along with a few of his associates, began planning an unprecedented robbery. Britain's National Postal Service was a secret belonging to Royal Mail. The secret was passed to him by a senior Royal Mail employee, met a security officer whose name was unknown. It was known that she was on a train from Glasgow to London. There is a special box, which is also called high-value packages, or HVP. A huge amount of money was going to be transferred in it on a particular day, and they had to rob this box. Bruce Reynolds and his accomplices were well-known criminals, but they had no experience robbing trains. They included another gang from London in the plan, who also had experience in train robbery. The gang was known as the South Coast Raiders. Gradually, the team grew, and now more than 15 people were involved in the scheme. They were determined to rob the government train without firing a shot. But this wasn't a simple robbery where they stopped the train and rob it. It took months of planning. On August 7, 1963, at 6:50 p.m., the train departs from Glasgow Central Station for London. It arrives at London's Euston railway station at 4:15 a.m. The next day, the train had a total of 12 coaches and 72 post office staff were present to sort the mail during the journey. This train was specifically designed to drop off parcels and post in various cities. Therefore, it ran without stopping. Parcels were to be dropped off at various stations. Whenever a station arrived, the local post office staff would send a special sacks would be hung from the elevated rails. When the train passed a platform, it would slow down, and the staff inside would lift a net. With help, he would hold the sacks, and in the same way, while walking on the platform, he would pick up the sacks of the mails that he had to drop at that station. This process allowed mail to be distributed to various stations without stopping. The coach that was to be robbed was not yet attached to the train. The coach was safely parked at Nain Valley Railway Station. These were called HVPs, or high-value packages, because they often contained large amounts of cash, which people could easily afford at the time. Money orders were sent to other cities. Posted in 1960, 3 years before this sentence. The Office Investigation Branch, IB, has decided to install security alarm systems in HVP coaches to enhance their security. And in 1961, 3 HVP coaches were fitted with this security alarm system. They were installed, and the old coaches, which did not have security alarms, were kept in reserve, but on the day of the robbery. Most importantly, the HVP coaches with 6 security alarms were out of service that day. Therefore, a reserve coach M3224M had to be used in which there was no security system in place. It was a very tip that the pirates received from a Royal Mail insider. When the train leaving from Glasgow reached Nain Valley Railway Station, The railway staff placed the HVP coach second after the engine, connected. This was the first tip the bandits received. But the second tip was even more important. Normally, HVP, the boxes, contained around 300,000 pounds. But because last week was a bank holiday weekend, there was around $3 million in cash inside on the day of the robbery, and this was tip number 2. The coincidence that happened today might not happen in years. It must have happened once. 12 times the amount of money was being stolen, and coincidentally, the HVP compartment with the security alarm was also faulty. But for the robbers, this was no coincidence. They had been planning for this day for months. Anyway, the train, complete with the HVP coaches, departed from Nain Valley Station. It was nighttime, and the train driver, 58-year-old Jack Mills, was speeding toward his destination. A group of bandits was also lying in wait in the bushes near the railway track. Their planning was perfect. August 8th, around 3 a.m. in 1963, a member of a band of bandits began tampering with the signal at Sears Crossing. A glove was placed in front of the green light to hide it, and a battery was used to operate the red light. They all hid and waited for the train. When the train arrived at Sears Crossing, the driver, but I was quite surprised to see the red light, because normally trains don't stop at this crossing, especially Royal Mail trains. Well, Jack Mills applied the brakes and stopped the train right at the signal. Suddenly, there was a hush everywhere. The assistant driver, also known as the second man, gets down from the train to communicate with the signalman using a telephone installed on the line side. When he picked up the telephone at the signal, he found that the line was cut. This was all part of the bandits' plan. Just as the second man was about to turn back and head towards the engine, the bandits emerged from the bushes and they overpowered him. Some bandits climbed onto both sides of the engine and even tried to overpower the driver. When Jack Mills resisted, one of the robbers hit him on the head with an iron rod, and he fell unconscious in the driver's seat. They had come with a thorough plan. While this commotion was unfolding in the engine, some team members separated the first 2 coaches from the rest of the train. They planned to take the train away from here. But where? Sears Crossing, the Brideco Bridge, was about 1 kilometer away, and that's where the bandits' truck was located. He also brought a retired railway driver with him, whose job was to take the train to the bridge. Everything went exactly as planned. But now the bandits faced their first problem. The driver they had brought with them. The mere sight of the controls of this new engine terrified him, as he had never operated one. The pirates forced Jack till they tried to revive Mills and forced him to drive the train 1 kilometer. Now the engine and 2 coaches, the train started moving again and stopped at the Bride Bridge 1 kilometer away. Meanwhile, the remaining coaches of the train, which had been the staff who were left behind, did not know why the train had stopped. Reaching Brideco Bridge, the robbers broke the door of the HVP coach and entered inside, inflicting serious injuries on 5 staff members. They arrived, tied them face down with ropes, and began their operation. There were a total of 128 sacks in the HVP compartment. It was filled to the brim with cash. It was £1, £5, and 10-shilling notes. Their total weight was approximately 20 tons. The train was on the bridge and a truck was parked on the road below. According to the bandits' plan, they only had 15 minutes, so they formed a human chain and one by one, loaded 120 of the 128 sacks onto the truck. I loaded it in. The remaining 8 sacks were left out because time was running out. Their plan had worked perfectly. But in the end, only one mistake was made, which later proved to be most useful in getting him caught. As they were leaving, one of the robbers told the staff tied up in the HVP compartment that they would wait for 30 minutes. Don't even try to get up from here, otherwise you will lose your life. The bandits had an Austin Lodestar truck onto which all the cash was loaded and 2 Land Rovers on which they stole the money. Witnesses said, to mislead the people, only one number was used, BMG 757. After the incident, all of them fled from there. After a 45-minute drive, He arrived at his high-rise apartment at 4:30 a.m. He was near a village called Okali, about 43 kilometers from the crime scene. He was also listening to police radio calls, which was a great help. Just as he arrived at his hideout, the police, he also learned of the robbery. But for now, he was very happy. He came to the hideout and had a lot of fun. They even played a game of Monopoly, using real currency notes. But their joy lasted only a few minutes. A short while later, they were through radio communication. It was learned that the police were searching for them within a 50-kilometer radius. The idea of 50 kilometers came to the police from the staff member. This was due to the statement that the robbers had made about half an hour and escaped. So, the police had a good idea that half an hour was still pending. He would only be within a 50-kilometer radius. Hearing this, the bandits panicked. Now, his plan to leave the hideout, which had been planned for Sunday, was shifted to Friday. They divided the money among themselves. The loot was estimated to be around £2.5 million. According to some reports, each person had a share of, each received £150,000, a huge sum at the time. This translates to £3.9 billion in today's money. He distributed the rest of the money among the helpers who played small roles in music. He wiped his fingerprints off everything in the hideout before Friday and assigned a man the duty to do it after he left. Burn down the hideout so the police can't find any evidence. He took the money but fled without burning down the hideout. Meanwhile, police were searching for him throughout the Buckingham area. Helicopters were hovering over the city. Police were stationed at various locations. Cars were racing, and national media coverage was rife. Police offered a $10,000 reward for information. A man living in the hideout neighborhood came forward and informed the police that on August 8th there was a lot of commotion that morning. Suspicious, the police immediately raided the hideout. It was a leather slat farmhouse. The robbers had rented the house 3 months earlier. Police found a large amount of evidence. Were linked to the robbery, as were empty sacks, mails, and a truck that had been hastily painted yellow. The robbers had wiped their fingerprints away. But some fingerprints remained on that Monopoly. It was a game he played with real money. These fingerprints proved to be a major breakthrough in the case because all of them had a prior criminal record. That's why those fingerprints were matched with police and Scottish Yard records. The police went and found the real culprits. Within a few days, they arrested 14 of the 16 people. Only 2 people managed to escape the police, including a replacement train driver whose real name is unknown, and the second was the senior security officer at Royal Mail, whose tip-off was the basis for this entire plan. To this day, that officer remains unidentified. No one knows because he never revealed his true face or name. The court declared this robbery a homicide. Terming it as the biggest robbery of the year, almost all the members of this gang were sentenced to 30 years of imprisonment. After this robbery, Bridego Bridge became known as the Train Robbers Bridge, and this is its unofficial name to this day. Mills, a 58-year-old train driver, was unable to resume his job due to a head injury. He couldn't do it and passed away 7 years later due to shock. I hope you enjoyed this video as well. Please don't forget to like and share, subscribe the Untold 1 channel. Thank you so much for your loving comments. See you in the next great video.